Hey there. This is the refilming for my final of the Synoptic Gospels class. I guess I misinterpreted a bit what the final was originally looking for, so I'm just going to be a little more exact in my, extraction of source materials and things that I enjoyed. I only have 5 minutes, so I'll get started. One of the things that I really enjoyed the most was our understanding of like contextual criticism, especially in the Gospels, which is, the I guess I can say only historically like narrative. I guess what Craig Keener, Dr. Craig Keener, I think he's a doctor, talked about was uh the historical biography, the only historical biography present in the New Testament, and of course, a historical biography on the life of Jesus and how to understand, you know, why each section was written and understanding, the different sections and their different purposes and the things going on at the time, and also as well like the historical context of scholarship and how we got to this point of criticism. Going through source criticism at the beginning of the class was a great start. Just establishing important concepts and trying to understand how we got the Gospels as they are today, who likely wrote them. Also the group that surrounded the person who wrote them, and maybe some of the presuppositions that they had, and allowing us to understand why the Gospels look different than each other. Understanding the synoptic problem was a huge portion to the beginning of the class. Of course, establishing mark and priority, but still understanding like, hey, these Gospels are similar for these reasons. Like Matthew and Luke taking a ton from Mark, but then also understanding Matthew and understanding Luke and the camps that they both came from, and the audiences they were writing to as well, and using that to understand why Matthew and Luke likely took from most of the same sources but ended up so drastically different. And then of course going from that into form criticism was super awesome, especially for understanding the parables specifically, and a lot of things. I think I found that really presently in John as well, which we only had one section on, but of course John places a much more major emphasis on the Jewish traditions and the different Jewish feasts and holidays that went on, and understand using form criticism to understand why Jesus said certain things or did certain things, or why certain things were included based on the social context in which those situations arose. Like just the different feasts that were taking place, things that today we don't really understand, especially someone who's not Jewish, or just a modern evangelical Christian isn't really going to have this grand understanding of the Hebrew calendar and the different celebrations that they have going on. So it helped to really paint a fuller picture, and of course as well hugely in the understanding of parables. Form criticism, understanding in parables the social situations in which they took place, why Jesus used the language that he used so frequently. Jesus definitely talked very directly to his audience. I think a lot of people think, not that the Bible isn't inspired text that's talking to us now and we can extract things from it, but the Bible wasn't written to us. The words that Jesus said, the parables weren't spoken to us. They were spoken for us as well. We can use them, but we understand that they weren't spoken to us, and so it's good to understand the crowd he was speaking to. The farmers, the fishermen, the first century Jews, and the things that they would have held dear, and the things that they were looking for in a messianic figure as well, really helped to grasp a hugely fuller understanding of parables. I think we then get into some of the understanding of how secularism has crept into scholarship in a literary understanding of the Bible, and how liberalism, theological liberalism, has also spread pretty rapidly through like redaction criticism. I think that was the huge, I'm sure that coincided with Enlightenment. You had things like, we didn't talk about this, but things like the Jefferson Bible, where early people, historical figures that we know and understand today, were taking things out of the Bible because they believed that they were added in there post tense, and that, there was just a big editorial bias going on, and that people had an intense message to share, and they were willing to bend the truth for that. And I think understanding just the flimsy presuppositions that kind of thinking is based on, especially some of the groups that even think that early Christians got a hold of Josephus's writings and inputted Christian stuff into that, and understanding where, there was editorial bias as well, taking away the presuppositional part, but understanding the different editorial bias of the different authors was great, and it helped me to understand how we got to this form of literary critique today, and how we can use that to just better understand the Gospels. I think that was the thing that I took away from the class the most. So